Hey there, I'm Amy from thecrazycraftlady.com. I am so happy you're here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new, this is a place all about making everyday creative, about sharing new seasonal decor ideas, DIY home decor, crafts, you name it, we're here for it. If you're returning, thank you for coming back. Today we're going to talk about reverse canvases. So if you followed my channel for any amount of time, I have shared a couple of reverse canvas crafts. I shared a winter Christmas tree one. I shared a fall Dollar Tree one. But I decided I wanted to really take a deep dive and share a basic kind of reverse canvas 101, a primer to kind of give you like the full scope of step-by-step, how do you make a reverse canvas. I love this type of craft so much because it's so completely customizable. From the color of the frame to what you put inside of it, there are endless possibilities for customizing your reverse canvas. It's a great way to display artwork or printables and make really truly custom framed wall decor for your home. So let's get making. Okay, so what is a reverse canvas? Very simply put, it is a stretched canvas that you use for any art project in reverse. So what you're gonna do is, I'm gonna walk you through step by step. We're gonna cut the stretched canvas off the frame, and then we're gonna have the wood frame be exposed, and then we're gonna trim the canvas down to size and reattach it to the back so you have a framed piece of artwork that you can hang on your wall. Couple options for choosing your canvas. Stretch canvas come in a variety of sizes and you can use whatever you want. I'm using 8 by 10 on this tutorial just so it's small enough that it'll fit in the camera frame. When I do my overhead shots, I can only show you so much of my workspace. So an 8 by 10 is nice and easy to work with, but use whatever you want. Where to buy canvas? One, you can buy them at Dollar Tree. These are from, it's the Crafter's Square brand. I have a handful of them on my shelf. Dollar Tree I feel like Dollar Tree is really upped their game when it comes to craft supplies in their craft aisle. So give that a look. If you can't find it in your Dollar Tree store, you can order them online. And I know the nice thing about ordering canvases online from Dollar Tree is sometimes you have to order in like really large quantities. I think they lowered the minimum to like 4 or something. I'd have to double check. But I think you can order like, you don't have to order 30 of them at a time. Although I would order 30 because I would use all of them. But I'm just like that. And once we remove the canvas from this frame, I'm going to show you the difference between a Dollar Tree canvas and a craft store canvas so that you can choose what suits your style best because they're a little different. Now, if you are going to go shop at the craft store, Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, Blick, whatever. I got these at Michael's just because I live closest to a Michael's store. I could walk to a Michael's store, so I'm pretty lucky. This is a 10-pack of 8 by 10 canvases. I like the multi-packs because they're usually a bit cheaper. You can get a good deal, and then if you stack a coupon on top of it, it is a really good deal. And in fact, I would say if you buy the multi-pack and use a coupon, you're probably not paying much more than $1 a canvas anyway. You just have 10 of them, but I can come up with uses for 10 canvases. That's easy. And after you watch this tutorial, I'm sure you will be able to as well. So first things first, we're going to disassemble our canvas. So this is step 1, remove the canvas from the frame. All right, so I have switched to an overhead shot here, and I'm going to disassemble my 2 canvases. So I've got my dollar store canvas here on the one side, and I've got my craft store canvas on the other, just so I can compare the 2 for you. Helpful tools to have. I like using these pen blades. I get them off Amazon. I'll link to them for you. Or any type of razor blade. Just please, 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 safety first, okay? I'm very accident prone, so I have on more than one occasion cut myself, but I'm an unlucky crafter. And then pliers. These are just like floral pliers. These are super old and rusty, but whatever you got. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna start with your pen blade or your razor blade or whatever you've got, and you are gonna cut around the edge, all the way around, because you wanna completely remove this piece of canvas from the wooden frame. Okay, so you're gonna rip this off. Now, there are two schools of thought when it comes to the staples. Remove or not to remove. The choice is totally yours. I used to be team remove the staples, but I mean, it's a lot of work, y'all, and there's like no reward for it because the staples end up being on the back of your finished project. So I have kind of transitioned to team leave the staples. Now, as you're ripping away this canvas, if a staple starts to come loose, yeah, go ahead, use your pliers to pull it. Otherwise, I say just leave them. But I do like to do a pretty good job of pulling all the canvas because then you have a smoother back to your project. So I'm gonna speed this up and I'm gonna remove the canvas from both of these, and then I'm gonna show you the wood frame that we have to work with. All right, so I have removed my canvas from my frame. So you have the canvas and you have the frame. And I'm gonna show you the difference between craft store and Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree, craft store. I don't know if you can tell, the Dollar Tree one is just square and it's thinner. It's more rough. It's got a lot more texture to it. So if you're gonna be staining or painting, keep that in mind. This is a lot more rough of a texture. This is smoother. It's definitely sanded more, the craft store one, and it's got this beveled edge. So it's a more substantial frame. It's smoother, so your stain might go on a little easier. It really just depends what look you're going for. Like I said, I've used both and I will continue to use both. Just because I like variety, and in this tutorial, I really want to share with you, like, maximize the variety options here because this is truly such a fun, customizable craft. And I'm going to say customizable way too many times today, and I'm going to apologize for that. So the only other thing that's left is to trim your canvas down to size. And that's super, super easy. All you have to do is just cut your canvas. And I like to use fabric scissors for this, just because it's there's like nothing more satisfying than a good pair of fabric scissors and making really nice clean cuts. Maybe, I don't know what that says about me and my lack of life, but here we are. So I'm going to cut this down to size. And so you will see where this canvas was folded over the wooden frame. So that kind of serves as a guide. If you want, you could take a pen and like set this down and trace around this. Just be careful not to get pen or ink on the wood frame. But I don't know. I'm going to live on the wild side here and just freehand it. So you're just going to trim kind of right inside that fold mark. Always remember, you can always trim more away, but you can't add more back on. So just give this a quick cut. Okay, so that's my first go at it, right? And then I'm going to turn around and set this. So this is what it's going to be like afterwards. You do have a choice. Sometimes the canvas will have like this like unbleached side that's a little more creamish versus the bright white side. So depending on your style, you can kind of choose whichever one you want. But I will just set this down And then if like anything is kind of poking out, so like this top quarter here is poking out just a little bit. So I'll just trim that up a little bit more, but then it's just kind of trial and error until your canvas is kind of hidden behind that wooden frame. And then you are ready to move on to step 2, which is preparing your wood frame. So prep it. Couple different options here. You can leave the frame unfinished. So if you like the raw unfinished wood, just leave it, skip this step and move on. Or you can paint or stain. Those are kind of your two options. Acrylic craft paint is great. Chalky finish paint. I really love the Waverly chalk paint from Walmart, or Deco Art paint from Michaels or whatever. So truly any color of the rainbow, you could paint a solid color. You could use wood stain that you can get at the craft store, or I like the Waverly antique wax. I've used that quite a few times. Folk Art also has kind of like an antique wax. The benefit of that is it doesn't have such a strong odor like wood stains do. So you can do it in your craft room, and there's kind of less worry about the chemicals and the fumes. So if you're worried about that, I would maybe do an antique wax like with a tint to it, because you can get some really cool looks that way. And then if you really want to go above and beyond and overachieve here, you can combine the two. So stain and then paint. I will link to, I have a tutorial where I took a thrift store frame, a wooden frame, and I gave it kind of like a chippy, distressed kind of farmhouse chalk paint look to it. And you basically get it by layering. You stain first, and then you layer on your paint, and then you kind of distress it away. But that's another fun option too. So lots and lots of choices. So I'm going to make a couple different ones, and then I will share with you my end result. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the painting process because it's pretty straightforward. You just paint the frame. For this one, I used Deco Art Americana acrylic craft paint in the color Sea Breeze, and I just gave like a really good full coat with this teal paint on my frame. If you wanted something a little bit more rustic, you could use more of a dry brush technique and leave some of that wood grain showing through. But I wanted just full coverage on this. And then I stained my dollar store frame with, this is a gel stain, and I've been using this more lately. I really like it. It's Americana gel stain, also from Deco Art, in the color Oak. And this has been a pretty popular one. I've used it on a couple of I think I used it on my fall reverse canvases. Now it's time for step 3, which is to add design elements to your canvas. So I have a painted frame and I have the canvas that's going to go inside, but what do you want to fill it with? Lots of options. In this video, I'm going to make 3 different reverse canvases, and I'm going to show you 3 different techniques to design your canvas. The first one that I'm going to use with my painted frame is going to be the printable / photo route. I don't think that the photo canvas, the DIY photo canvas trend would be unfamiliar to you. It's been pretty popular on Pinterest. I made some photo canvases many, many years ago with pictures of my kids, and that tutorial's on my blog, although if you read that tutorial, I'll link to it, but it's so old. Please don't judge my photography skills from 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was a while ago. It was like, I go back and I look at old blog posts and I cringe like, oh, my photography skills have greatly improved since then. But the technique is pretty simple. You take a canvas, give it a coat of Mod Podge, smooth the photo over top of it onto the canvas, and then you let it sit and dry. And then if you want to give it that canvas texture again, you put another coat of Mod Podge on top. And then you take like, here, I'll grab one. You take like another canvas and like you stamp it onto the wet Mod Podge, and it kind of leaves that canvas texture. It's really fun. Now that I think about it, maybe I'll make another tutorial of a reverse canvas, or reverse photo canvas. That's a good idea. But for today, we're gonna go with printables. So printables are all over the internet. You can buy them on Etsy, you can get them for free. Go to Pinterest and type free printables, like free winter printables. Like they're all over the place. I have several on my blog, and that's what we're gonna go with today. This is a spring favorites printable. I just printed it out on computer paper. I think I printed it at 80% because I wanted to make sure it would fit inside my frame. So when you print your items off, your photo, whatever, make sure you measure the inside of your frame and you know it's gonna fit. But this process is super, super easy. And we're gonna use Mod Podge as well. First things first, I'm just gonna trim my printable down to size. So I'm just gonna kind of center this, make a couple corner marks, and you could use like a paper trimmer if you wanted really straight lines, but that's not super important. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball this. And you want it to be a little bit smaller than your canvas. That looks right. That looks pretty good. All right. Then grab some Mod Podge. Any kind will do. This is just matte. Use what you got. And you're going to do a complete coat on this canvas with Mod Podge. Oh, it's my iron beeping at me, which is a sneak peek at what's to come, because we are not going to apply this paper to the canvas when the Mod Podge is wet. So I have, I recently discovered this technique, and I saw it on YouTube, and I wish I could give credit, but I can't remember where I saw it. But sometimes when you apply thinner paper to, with Mod Podge, you can get bubbles and wrinkles, and it's a pain, and it's just like the bane of, and I'm not by any means an experienced decoupager. I'm not super experienced with Mod Podge. I use it enough, but I'm not a pro. But the way to avoid the wrinkles is you do a coat of Mod Podge and then you let it dry, which is really counterintuitive. But stick with me here because I printed this on thin printer paper. I don't want to get bubbles. So I'm going to paint or coat my canvas with Mod Podge, and I'm going to walk away for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, until it dries. And then I'm going to come back and lay my paper on the canvas flat and reactivate the dry Mod Podge, the adhesive in it, with heat. So you can use your easy press if you have one, like if you're a Cricut crafter, you have an easy press. Otherwise, just grab your iron, make sure the steam is turned off, protect your work surface. You kind of want something a little, like I think doing this on a piece of cardboard would be best because you want a solid flat surface, not necessarily an ironing board. But then just go back over with the iron and smooth that paper over the coated canvas, and that reactivates the adhesive in the Mod Podge, and you end up with a perfectly smooth surface on your paper with no bubbles or wrinkles. Now, once this dries, if there's any additional bubbles that pop up, you can just take that iron and iron that one little spot to reactivate the adhesive and smooth out any bubbles. It works phenomenally. I have tested this technique. I've done it on wood as well. It's a great way to Mod Podge paper onto wood. No bubbles. It's absolutely genius. We're going to move on to our second decorated canvas, and that is stenciling. So go to the craft store. The stencil aisle is full of lots of cute options, and I'm going to try something new today that I haven't done before. And this is a reusable mesh stencil screen. So it's made by Folk Art. So that's deco art, the folk art people. Plaid. Okay. And so it's like this mesh screen, and it's reusable. So you could make a bunch of these, which would be great for gift giving. Or if you want to sell these. So reverse canvases are like, if you have an Etsy shop and you want to make a craft to sell, reverse canvases are a great option. But it's just this little, I'm doing this farm to table. I bought this farmhouse. So one says, and I'll try to find links where you can buy these. I got these at Michael's though, but this is like a fresh market, local goods. So it's kind of like a farmhouse theme. And then it comes with this stencil paste. So I bought this packet. It's got like white and cream and green. And I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use like the second from the bottom. It's like a lighter green color. All right, so I've got my little canvas here and it's going to fit. So make sure your stencil fits within your frame. You want to check it before you start painting. But I'm just going to put a little bit of this paste into a bowl. And now I don't have a, ooh, that's very teal. That's more teal than I expected. I think I'm going to switch to, oh yeah, this is much better. Dark green, much, much better. Okay, so this is the midnight green from this set. It's the darkest green in the set. I'm going to, actually I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to decorate the more finished. So like this is the unbleached. I think this will maybe, this has, it's almost like it's got a coating on it. So I think the stencil, I'll get better, crisper edges. But you just peel this off. And now the instructions say that you can use, I think you're supposed to use a squeegee. Okay, smooth this down. So you're supposed to like apply, I don't know if you can see in this picture, like you're supposed to apply the paste and squeegee it off, but I don't have a squeegee. So the other option is to use a stencil brush. So if you're a stenciler, you're not unfamiliar with this pouncing technique. If you're my mother, and this were the 80s, you would have done this in every room of my house. So my childhood house, my mom, it's where I get my crafting gene, my creative gene from my mother, stenciled, and this is so 80s, right? She stenciled like every room in the house, like stencil and wallpaper. I remember I had balloons in my bedroom and like the kitchen was stenciled. So everything that is old is new again. So I guess stenciling is back in fashion. And then for the moment of truth here, we're gonna peel off our stencil screen. Oh, that's super cute. So the stencil does have like some built-in texture to it. So I love how the way this turned out. And then I can go wash this screen and then let it dry face up with the sticky side up, and then put it back on this piece of paper, this backing that it came with. And I can reuse this over and over and over again. Super cool. But you could also use a regular stencil if you want. All right, now the third and final way to embellish your canvas is using your Cricut. Full disclosure, I understand not everyone owns a Cricut or a Silhouette or cutting machine, so I don't share a ton of Cricut tutorials, even though I love using my Cricut machine, especially to make t-shirts. I made this t-shirt. But I know that's not accessible for everyone. So when I do share crafts that use my Cricut, I do my very, very best to share alternative options for y'all so you can make it with or without a Cricut. But I'm just going to run through this really quickly because if you're a Cricut crafter, you're probably well seasoned and well versed in all things vinyl. But when I decorate my reverse canvases using my Cricut, my vinyl of choice is always heat transfer vinyl. because I mean, it's made for fabric and canvas is fabric. So that's kind of the obvious. So you can go to Cricut Design Space and you can pick any design you like. I mean, the possibilities are endless. You don't have to have a subscription to Cricut Design Space, although I do, and the design that I chose for this project was made in Design Space. There are tons of bloggers out there that share free cut files, SVG files, whatever you want to call them. But you're just going to go into Design Space and pick whatever you want. You know, I picked a very basic, you know, single layer cut only type design, but like you can get as basic or fancy as you want. I chose this one because I thought it was a cute little saying and very, very true in my life. But you're just gonna make your design, you're gonna make sure you mirror it before you cut it, and then weed your vinyl before you press it onto your canvas. So I'm gonna speed this up and weed my vinyl, and then we're gonna press it with the heat press. All right, now that we have designed our canvas and decorated them however we want, it is time to reattach the canvas to the wood frame. So you have a couple different options for this. If I am making a reverse canvas that's like more seasonal and it's not gonna be up year round, it's not gonna be hanging on my wall for a length of time, I usually just go with hot glue. So the way to do this is you just flip your wood frame over, and you want to move very quickly because the hot glue dries fast. Sorry, I didn't start my video on time there. Okay, so a thin line of hot glue. Then you flip it over, center your pattern, and press down. That's it. Now, if once you do this, I didn't move fast enough because I didn't start filming soon enough, but if you have like a little bit of overhang, like I don't know if you can tell if like there's a little bit of canvas overhang here, you can just flip this over and take your pen blade and trim that away. The other option is I'll do this one. I'll move a little quicker on this guy. Okay, so this one is not like a seasonal one. This is gonna go on the wall in my craft room. There we go. So I'm gonna grab my pen blade because I've got a little overhang here. So remember what I said when we first removed, or when we trimmed our canvas down the sides, you can always add more later. Or you can always remove more later, but you can't add any more. So it's better to have to do this step at the very end. But I'm going to reinforce the backing. Now, if you have if you've ever reupholstered anything and you have one of those heavy duty staple guns, that's a great option. I used to have a staple gun. I have no idea where it went. So I'm going to use these little brads like for cork boards. They have like the flat head on them. And I'm just going to add a couple push pins to reinforce the glue. And this wood is soft enough that I'm able to just like press these in. If you're not able to do that, that's totally fine. Just grab like a little hammer or something. But yeah, these just pop. These pop right into place real easily. So I'm just going to kind of go around the edge of my frame and get these all reinforced. And there we have my canvas, my reverse canvas frame ready to hang up in my craft room. Now for step 5, which is totally optional, but you can embellish your canvas frame kind of however you want. And I'm going to do that just on one of these. So on this little farm to table sign, I'm going to grab, I've just got like this little stem. I think this is from Walmart, just a little greenery, right? And I'm gonna add that with like a little ribbon to the bottom of the frame here. This is gonna come together super, super quick. I'm gonna like kind of separate some of these sprigs and make a little bunch that I'm gonna secure with a ribbon and hot glue at the base of my frame. I use these Fiskars crafting shears for a lot of my projects. I will link to them below. They are perfect for separating these little greenery things that have the little wire inside them. So like I said, this step is totally optional, but I think it's just a fun additional way to customize this reverse canvas. All right, we made it to step 6. We have our completed reverse canvas. There are all sorts of options, but now we have to hang our reverse canvas on the wall. And the problem is these backings, it's just that flat canvas. There's nothing there. So you have a couple different options for hanging your new creation. First up, you can use the Velcro command strips. This is a great option if you're doing like a seasonal reverse canvas. So if you're just gonna hang it up for Christmas or whatever, use the command strips. It's a great option. Stick them on the wall and then you damage free on your walls. It's also great for people like me who are very indecisive with their home decor. I change my walls up a lot. So I find myself using a lot of command strips just so that my walls don't turn into Swiss cheese. Second option, and this is my go-to for a lot of mine, it's kind of a hack, is grab a pop tab. Soda, pop, depending where in the country you're from, what you call it. Grab that pop tab, take it off the tin can, and hot glue it to the back of your canvas. This is great for like all sorts of projects. If you have anything that you need to hang on your wall quickly, just hot glue the pop tab on there and then hang it up. And then last but not least, this is a little bit more involved, but probably my recommended version or option if this is something that you're gonna hang up on your wall for a long time. So like if I were to hang this farm to table piece in my kitchen, or if I were to hang like this crafting one in my craft room, I would go to the hardware store and get a sawtooth hanger. So in the hardware aisle, there is like a picture hanging section where they have all the wires and everything for hanging pictures, and you can get little sawtooth hangers and they come with tiny little nails. I have never successfully installed one on a project without bashing in my thumb, so I'm not going to show you the process, but here it is on a finished one. So that's an option as well. So 3 great ways for hanging your projects. Add these to gallery walls, add them anywhere you want in your house. Like I said, totally customizable. You can make them for any season, for any style of home decor. The possibilities really are endless. I know that this video was full of a ton of information and I used a lot of different craft supplies. So I'm going to put together a full resource guide. It's going to be on my blog. So if you're finding this video on YouTube, I'm going to link to my blog post below where I will have like a complete run through with links to all the products that I use so you can find anything that you need. If you have questions about how to make your own reverse canvas or if there's something I didn't cover, please leave a comment below and I will do my very, very best to answer all of your questions. But thanks for hanging in there. This was a long video for me. I really do hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Until next time, happy making. Bye.